additional. So.
Recording in progress.
Smashing.
All right, here. Delvo.
Yes.
Schuler. Scannell.
Present.
Dean.
Stop here.
Inkfus.
Here.
Parma. Ganther. We have 4 members, so we have 4.
Excellent, thank you. All right, approval of the agenda, please.
I move to approve the agenda.
Second.
Candle, seconded by Kathy, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried, the agenda is approved. Approval of minutes from April 11th.
I approve those minutes.
Second.
Debbie, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. Regular business. First item is consideration of possible action on the creation and approval of a 30-foot easement on parcel 12-112 and parcels 12-195 through 12-206, restricting the construction of any permanent building structures but permitting emergency vehicle access, temporary outdoor seating, temporary lighting, and temporary artwork.
That's me, Mr. Chair. I'll take that one. This item has been before this body a couple different times here over the past several months. This is regarding an easement between the Bay Lake City Center building and the city's, the RDA zone lot on Adams Street, the Adams Street parking lot. Direction previously was to go and meet and basically engage with the developer, the neighboring parcel there, and just kind of get some additional information. Chairman Delvo, Mayor, Debbie, and also Vice Chair Schuler, we met with the applicant and had several discussions just regarding the overall nature of the project. Expressed our concerns, certainly with the certainly residential aspects of the project.
Yes.
Certainly the interior units particularly. You know, certainly there was, I guess, a good hearty discussion for about an hour. Went on and off in terms of like describing the nature of why they were pursuing the ones why they were pursuing the design they were. I think I certainly don't want to speak for members who were in the meeting, but I think it was very clear that we wanted to, you know, while we understood the need for this easement and that it also benefits our property in terms of letting something proceed on the Adams Street lot, then we wanted to make sure that it was not an endorsement by the RDA of that particular project.
Right.
I think that was, Gary, certainly your comments, I think
Yes.
made that very clear. Mayor, I think yours did too. In terms of there was a considerable amount of public concern for the project.
Yes.
But that we certainly understood that this easement was going to be required really regardless, I think, whatever sorts of development did occur on that property. So previous actions, the RDA approved the sale of the corner building, the transfer of that building to the condo association at its previous meeting, so that has been completed. This is the only outstanding item that was out there, and I think if wanted folks to remember the importance of having this easement was primarily for fire code compliance, and without this there would have been essentially there was a plan submitted that would have required breaking in all the egress openings on that particular side of the lot and removing windows, when most of our discussions we've had with the applicant is actually trying to encourage and add windows back to that particular building to try to improve the aesthetic on it. So there wasn't, I guess, anything overly productive, I guess, out of that meeting, other than it was very communicated, very clear on what the positions were on those items. And again, very clear, expressing certainly the amount of concern I think that not only the RDA had, but I think just the public in general in terms of what was known about the project and that particular aspect. Specifically, staff is actually still researching a little bit of items in terms of making sure that those are even permitted types of units on the inside based on federal regulations in terms of if they would be qualified for vouchers or not because of the lack of external windows on the project with those inner units. So we still continue to kind of evaluate that and go as we go forward with this. But this is an item that, again, we see that is necessary really for any project, which Mayor and I did have, and Matt Buchanan of our staff had an excellent conversation with the developer here very recently that's expressed very strong interest in the Adams Street lot. So we are cautiously optimistic, but we're hopeful going to be seeing a specific proposal on that lot here within hopefully the next 30 to 60 days in terms of making us a proposal, at the very least enough to secure a planning option for the site.
This is the lot right next to this project.
This is our yes, the RDA owned parking lot at this
Absolutely.
point, yes.
Yep.
So again, cautiously optimistic that this is would be a very qualified developer, does some very nice projects. So we'd be excited to have them engaged on this particular lot. And we think this would be one more thing to kind of get out of the way,
Right.
essentially to make sure that can move forward. If in fact they come forward, can move forward as smoothly as possible, so.
And this easement obviously would help that project a lot as well.
Absolutely. I mean, that was certainly the impetus behind it, was certainly making sure that, what sort of windows they were going to be able to maintain or not be able to maintain if that was not granted. But again, this clearly, it's certainly staff's opinion that it benefits our lot as well, to make sure that this space has been secured between. In fact, based on the conversations we've had with this new developer, we may be coming back and actually amending this easement and making it a little bit more of a straight easement rather than just 30 feet from the building. We'd like to make it a little bit more of a functional thoroughfare at some point, depending on the proposal. But for now, we're simply putting in the bare minimum requirement of 30 feet from the building foundation.
I'm just going to read a statement that you have in here, which I wholeheartedly agree. Chairman Delbo stated that any granting of these should not be taken as an RDA endorsement of the applicant's project. Hey, wait, bottom line, we can't really stop this project, but all we can do is try to make it better than what it is.
From a building code, at this point, from a building code and a zoning standpoint, we have not identified any issues at this point.
Okay.
There is one last item we are looking into to make sure, related to, but again, it's more related to more of a funding mechanism rather than the zoning or the code.
All right. Questions, comments in regard to, the staff is recommending that we do approve the easement, and actually, it's to our advantage as well. If I'm not mistaken, there's more of their land on this easement than ours, is that correct?
That's correct. 60% of the easement is on Bay Lake City Center property and 40% is on REA property.
Okay. Questions, comments, Randy?
I approve this. I mean, this is good for everybody, no matter what we think of the project.
Yep.
It still makes it a better project, which is what we've always been. That's where I thought we'd always end up, doing what we can. And this certainly works for that. And it certainly is in our interest to do this, so I'm all for it.
Jesse, please.
I'll support the easement, I mean, from making sure we have fire, police, access like that, especially when you're gonna have a lot of people in the building, makes sense. But I don't know if anybody saw the article in the New York Times a couple weeks ago. They had a write-up on office buildings being converted and how to do it, the best ways, the different designs. They gave examples that they went through. I mean, it was a very lengthy article. But bottom line, not one of them had apartments without windows.
They can't in New York. It'd be illegal in New York.
Okay, well, but no, they were talking not just New York City. They were talking about buildings that are being converted across the United States. And they gave us some examples, but nowhere in the article did it talk about any type of housing that would be without windows or lit by unnatural light. So I just found it really interesting. I mean, there was a lot of architect stuff in it, but I just felt that I had to go through it and see what I could find. And it was, they talked about the hallways, but never any. So I just thought I would throw that out there.
That was one of the questions
Want
we
to go
had.
back and look at it?
One of the questions we had is that, could you show us a place where this has worked? Milwaukee, Madison, whatever, and big one. But anyway, back to the easement.
So I do support the easement.
Motion to approve?
Second?
Motion by Alderman Scannell, second by Kathy, to approve. Questions or comments in regards to the motion? All those in favor, someone saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. Thank you. Neil, thanks for all your hard work on this. This was not easy, I know that. We all know that, I guess, right here. Consideration of possible action to approve a planning option for a mixed-use development project at 436 South Monroe Avenue.
So that's going to be me, Gary. 436 South Monroe is a site that is located actually on the corner of Chicago and Monroe. We sent it out for RFP last year. RFP'd in 2021, and unfortunately we didn't have any developers come forward at that time. We've had individual developers come through, but nothing's really come to fruition on that. Our preference for that site is medium-density housing or a mixed-use development with, we want housing creation. So we did receive 2 proposals. The first one came through from Cherry Faith Properties. I am currently working with Duan, who is from there. He is here as well, so after I kind of go through here, if you have any questions, Duan is available. We've been working with Duan for a while. He is proposing a 4-story mixed-use building. The first ground floor would be retail, and then there would be 33 total living units on the other 3 floors. These, the ground floor retail would also create some jobs for the adults with some intellectual disabilities, which is what Duan currently works with, and will be creating part of this project to assist that. He is requesting a 3-month planning option to get the last of his items together. His timeline, based on if he has this planning option, is hopefully to do this groundbreaking this September with a completion next August. Our second one came from Green Bay Real Estate Investments. They too are going to do a mixed use of his will be a 2-story development with, he has a retail connection that has already applied for the first floor area, and then they're looking to do 10 residential units on the second floor. They are requesting a 12-month planning option. Like I said, I know that Duan is available. If there are any questions, I'm not sure if Garrett,
I don't believe he's not.
I don't see Garrett on the site, so I don't know if there's any questions at this time that you might have for Duan.
Motion to open the floor.
Motion. Second by Kathy, open the floor. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Floor open.
Duan, do you want to come up here and then
Absolutely.
you can either, or you can have a seat however you want, but then you can answer questions for
It's a
them.
big table.
Absolutely.
Have a seat.
Yes.
Only costs you a nickel.
Invoice me later.
Is this in line, Neil, with the original design that we had? 'Cause that was pretty attractive design. The physical design that we had.
Based on the original RFP, my understanding is that this would be consistent with what was generally sought at the RFP. Certainly, the amount of housing units, I think, is the more attractive, the housing density is part of the more attractive, certainly, the chair's proposals.
One of the things that everybody was excited about, I'm sorry, Debbie, I'll finish now, I'm sorry, was that, the grocery store. Everything downtown, everybody wants a grocery store. Very, very hot item, right, Jeff? So,
This isn't a grocery store.
I think you're on the wrong site here.
oh.
You're thinking of the.
430.
I was wondering in Chicago, I see the row and I started talking about that restaurant.
I didn't read it.
I'm like, wow, Duan, you didn't tell me that was grocery
But yes,
Most of what you said is correct, Gary.
As to what sort of retail are you envisioning in that?
Yeah, absolutely. So something of a Corner's Bakery, if yeah, so Corner's Bakery, mom and pop, sort of a coffee shop as well too, but also ideally something like Corner's Bakery, so.
So I
Yes,
have a
Debbie.
question. I don't see any development background in your LinkedIn profile but I see that you're connected to a lot of people
Yes.
at WIDA in development.
Yes, so Elmer Moore actually, I wouldn't say he's a pretty good friend, but I'll say he's definitely has helped me with just pretty much filling out like the WIDA tax code process, I would say, or tax credit process. So yes, he connected me with a bunch of special, so CHS ideally is their financing company out of New York that only funds specialty-based housing projects. So whether if it's intellectual disabilities, whether if it's physical disabilities, they're pretty much their bread and butter. And so I went to the WIDA conference last year, and he did a great job at just assisting me with certain contacts and things like that. In terms of the other development projects I'm involved with, I don't necessarily advertise much of it, to be honest with you. I just kind of keep it personal and private to me.
Okay.
So.
But you have a coffee shop that employs
I
disabled
do, yes.
people?
Yeah, we did have to pivot the coffee shop. It was in our West Allis area. Now we do online retail with our coffee bags, but the mission is still the same. So we employ adults with intellectual disabilities.
So Neil, the second option you're still negotiating, we haven't got information on the Garrett option. or-
We just have just what's included in the package, just basically a very, very preliminary rendering, and then certainly, but again, there was no commitments on their end. So again, just looking to have a planning, again, certainly the length of the planning option, I think represents the fact that they're looking at, the tenant they're looking at, will probably take that long to get that, but neighborhood team has met and reviewed both proposals and are certainly recommending Mr. Chairman's proposal at this time.
Yes, because you're asking for a 3-month planning option, with
Yes.
potential to have shovels in the ground in August.
Absolutely.
That's pretty awesome.
Calculate
And a
shovels.
lot, well, and I also like the fact that there's a lot, there's 33 apartments, any 3-bedroom. I'm the bigger, I'm always the 3-bedroom. Any 3 bedrooms?
Yeah, there are about 6, I believe, according to the pro forma.
Okay, awesome.
Is there room? Here's my big question
Yes.
all the time. Is there room for any green space once you build around that? Because the closest park is St. John's.
Yes, I think at the time, I think we're trying to, create, I guess, certain creative ideas around that. I do want to incorporate that, I'm just, at this point, not sure how exactly it would fit or where it would fit exactly, but I am very open to that, though. I'm just not sure exactly where and how I can fit that into it.
It would, part of the planning option, we'd
Would
have
be
to
to
go through
figure
the
that
whole
out.
process of
Yeah.
site plan and whatnot, but St. John's is literally a half a block.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
I grew up across the street. My grandmother's
It's pretty close.
salon was across the street.
A grass roof.
I've seen it in multiple, I do think it is cool, though, but yeah.
Where you can use,
Yeah,
Think that goes.
something. Don't put that
many people,
exactly.
a lot of people not happy with it.
No, there's a place in Door County that has goats.
Okay.
Yes.
That is my summer bucket list.
Ray Al Johnson's, literally, they've had them there for years.
Yeah. Okay.
Do you have any questions or comments?
No, I think it's high time that that site is developed. A very good traffic corridor, services in the vicinity, like Debbie said, St. John's Park is close by. And so no, I think a mixed-use property at that site would be very welcome.
Thanks, Jerry.
Would they be able to use the school?
Wendy?
Yeah, I wanted to say just a few words. Dwan and I met back last September. Actually, he picked up Cheryl's card at the WIDA conference, and so that's how our combination happened. So it's kind of fun to hear a little bit of the story of how this all ended up on our doorstep. So Dwan took the initiative to reach out to Cheryl, who referred him to me. Dwan and I quickly made an appointment with each other, and he came to the city to see it. I have to say, he fell in love with it at first sight. We met at the ADRC at the Grounded Cafe right after a meeting with the mayor that morning. And we ran out to check out all the great amenities that this community offers for individuals of special need. We went out to Aspero, we went out to Curative, Connections. I know that he and Jeannie over at Curative had a lengthy discussion about the amenities that are offered to individuals of all abilities in our community. And Dwan decided instantly that this was the community to bring his development here. While he's a very modest person, I wanted to say that he's doing great work in the Milwaukee area. We saw some of his developments down there, and I don't know if he'll have a chance to talk about that, but he has a similar model down there where he has a coffee shop and housing and amenities for individuals of cognitive developments and learning disabilities. And so anyway, it's just really refreshing to hear that somebody really noticed some of the great work that's already going on here and wants to build on some of the efforts of some of these great organizations that already call home to Green Bay, but this just is another piece that we don't have currently and that others are kind of looking to maybe explore. I know there's other developments that are kind of thinking about this, but he's got this model already in another community and wants to bring it here. So I just wanted to share that we had a great visit, and I don't know, the emails have been flying ever since, and so, anyway, just, I know he submitted some plans and some other things that haven't quite made it up onto the screen, but anyway, I just wanted to give you a little background about how he has worked with our staff, how he's done some due diligence with other community members, and just where we've kind of come to this point.
Excellent, thank you, Wendy. Any other questions or comments for the developers? If not, a motion to go back to regular order, thank you very much.
Motion to close the floor.
Second.
Motion and a second to close the floor, go back to regular order business, all those in favor, signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. We're back to regular order business.
One question.
Yes, please.
If we approve this, are we picking a development, or how does that work? Because there's two proposals, right? So,
We're provide, yes, we'd give a planning option to one for 3 months,
For 3 months.
which would
Yeah.
tie that lot up.
okay, so then,
But it's not a formal approval of the project. It's
Right.
simply
Right.
holding
Right.
up for- just allow for due
but we
diligence.
pick one. Well, then I make a motion to approve for the Cherry Faith properties.
And I second.
Motion and a second. Questions or comments in regard to the motion? If not,
Thank you.
all those in favor of the motion, signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. Debbie, you're comfortable with everything? You're comfortable with the project?
I am.
Very good, thank you. I just want to make sure. All right, number 3. Consideration with possible action on approval of the subordination, the assignment of development agreement for 401 to 409 North Broadway.
Me, Mr. Chairman? Yep.
Yep.
This is essentially more of an administrative thing we need.
Want to use mine as big?
The development project, this site has been sold. They actually notified staff prior to the sale as this was required, but we just did not get around to actually having this document formally approved until just recently. City attorney has reviewed this. So this is simply meeting the requirements of the development agreement to approve the subordination and assignment. And they have notified us as was required by the original agreement, and then they're asking for approval to subordinate and assign this development agreement to their financial institution from the new owner, and staff recommends approval.
Motion to, second.
Motion by Debbie and second by Alderman Scannell. Questions or comments in regard to the motion? If not, all those in favor of the motion, please signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. Thank you. All right, number 4. Consideration with possible action on the collateral assignment of development agreement for a development at the rail yard, parcel 5-1757, between DDL Holdings LLC, the City of Green Bay, and the redevelopment of the City of Green Bay to Capital Credit Union.
I'll take that one as well, Mr. Chairman. Again, this is essentially due to some refinancing going on by the developer out at the rail yard. This is essentially assigning the TIF agreement as collateral for their additional financing for the project. So again, does not really have any financial impact on us as the city. This is simply allowing them to proceed and move forward with some additional financing for the project. Staff would recommend approval, and it has been reviewed by city attorney already, so.
That's always nice.
You've represented.
Yeah.
Motion to approve.
Alderman
Second.
Scannell, second by Kathy. Questions or comments in regard to the motion? If not, all those in favor of the motion, please signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. Thank you. Number 5, consideration of possible action on development agreement with Gorman and Company for financial assistance for development on University Avenue, parcel 21-1249-1-3. Neil?
That'll be me again, Mr. Chairman. Currently still in discussions with Corman and Company regarding financial assistance for this. We were hoping to have that agreement ready to go for this meeting date. We are not ready to do that at this point. Would like to.
Better take longer to get it.
Well, we want to make sure we get it right, absolutely. Mr. Backham is here, if there are specific questions anyone would like to address him. I believe there were a couple other individuals who wanted to address this item, so I would request a motion.
Even though it's going to come back, I think we should open the floor to see your comments.
Absolutely.
Kathy?
I'll make motion, open floor.
Second.
Okay,
I think it's just all of us that want to speak, though. We don't need to open the floor for that.
No, there's more.
Oh, okay, yep.
all those in favor of opening the floor, signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, floor is open. You want to introduce yourself?
Yeah.
Tell us about.
Should I sit here or?
Sure.
Please.
Question nickel.
I don't have anything. Nobody had changed anything.
I don't give a damn.
Ted Mackham, I'm the Wisconsin Market President, 200 North Main Street, Oregon, Wisconsin. So what's happening is, and I'll take this as my fault, there was about a $2 million gap, which is pretty typical for 48 units in this type of capital stack. And 500,000 of that was taken by my primary mortgagee, IFF, will give me a second mortgage loan for the 500. So we had 1.5 million that was kind of city targeted funding. And we had some combo of ARPA, home, okay? And I don't know if you have the exact proposed numbers. And then 800 was TIF, okay? And I was like, oh, that's great, because that comes up to 1.5.
Yes.
The problem is the TIF is the pay-as-you-go. And in my world, you have to you have two options. You finance that up front with a third-party lender, or you add to your first mortgage. So in other words, like, if I have less expenses, i.e. no taxes, because it's a pay-as-you-go, so I pay, you pay me back, my first mortgage can go up because I have less expenses, right? My debt can go up. The problem is, an interest rate is calculated on that, so I get that squished, the 800 squished to 500, okay? The same thing if I go to another third-party lender and finance that pay-as-you-go TIF, they give it to me up front, but that 6% is gonna squish me to 500 of net, so I'm 300 light.
Sure.
And that's where our difference is, because if I can have, and this is what I was kind of proposing, but I have no idea if this works in this TIF or if the city can do it, where I would take the city would give me the 800 up front, so same dollar amount, but then I would guarantee as a company, a lot of times people do not want to guarantee these, they want to be just property, like the property just guarantees it, but Gorman and Company would guarantee the payback of the 800 if the city financed it up front. So they get that extra, and then I'd pay it off with the TIF. You know what I mean? But an interest rate kind of kills me because it squishes me, and I know you guys maybe have a 2% or whatever cost of money, but if we could do it, the 2% wouldn't kill me, but I'm just saying, like, if we could do it 2% or less, then I can get most of that 800 and get to the 1.5. Is it? Confuse everybody?
Yeah.
So that's what it is. That's why we kind of couldn't come to head, because we were just like, well, can we do this or not, or whatever. So we couldn't get to the development time. But I'm in a really time crunch here, because I had to change my site. And I'm in a cliff of 12/31/24. I have to have the building done, or I lose my tax credits. So I'm freaking out. So I need to just have some kind of resolution. I don't need it today, I don't need it this meeting, but I mean, I gotta go to common council and I gotta kind of, move it forward, so I don't know what the options are there. Yeah, that's just the sort of.
Yeah, Neil, please.
So we could, and obviously, certainly, an interest rate, unfortunately, is probably not 2% for us anymore, it's probably a little higher than that, based on whatever programs we were looking at in terms of where we would have, because we don't have that money just sitting available. We would have to go borrow it as well, so that interest rate, so that's one of the reasons we would need to do that. Certainly looking at probably some sort of, municipal revenue obligation in terms of, one way or another, even if, say, the increment wasn't hit, they would still be responsible for covering that service payment. Plus, Gorman would be, plus someone, whether that's increment, whether that's something else. So that's the kind of language we'd certainly be looking kind of to incorporate into the agreement. In terms of, collateralizing it somehow and making sure that, in order for, I think in this environment, while we understand the need for the upfront discussion, certainly staff's position is that can be considered under ironclad types of conditions in order to make sure that the city was not at risk in terms of losing those funds going forward.
Yeah, we wouldn't want the city to be at risk.
Yeah, and that's certainly, I'm not implying that's certainly not what it's saying, just in general, in other projects that the city has worked on, that has become an issue on occasion.
Yes.
So.
That's why I offer that, because I
Right.
think we've got a good balance sheet to say that we will pay the 800 back as a company,
Right.
as a big parent company, not just the entity of the LLC that's developing the project.
So I think in terms of just, working out exactly that,
Right.
of what that might look like to bring that forward, and have our financial consultant kind of review those, and certainly
Yes.
Diana as well, our finance director, make sure she would be comfortable with
Yes.
any kind of language.
The
of that.
bottom line, we're gonna flush some information out, you're still working on it.
So we're probably, I would think we could probably have something even within the next 2 weeks, I think if there was a special meeting.
We would definitely have a special meeting.
Okay, thank
Or
you.
not to hold you up any longer than we have to.
For a nickel.
For a nickel? Okay. I'll bring two around nickel.
Yeah, so right now, so we're, certainly staff is just asking that we would essentially ask to hold this to the next RDA meeting. But I think there may be a couple of other individuals who want to speak too. Mr. Chairman, just to be sure.
Yes.
Well, we open the floor, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Come on up, anyone else want to discuss project, please? Come on up.
Mr. Scanlon paying for my predecessor.
Keep working. This is for coffee.
I was gonna say that.
Where's the camera?
I'm John Van Dyke, I'm the CFO for Tuning Companies. This is Jim LaPlante. Jim is an architect in Green Bay. Full disclosure, he does architecture for us, but he's also an independent architect, so I'll let him speak as an architect in a few moments. We just wanted to cover a couple of things. It would be rather, as a multifamily developer, it would be rather disingenuous of us to sit here and suggest that we're opposed to the project. We do have some concerns, however, with the project that's being proposed that we would like for you to take into consideration, however. The biggest thing is really garages and green space on that site. When we developed our site, as probably most developments, at least not downtown Green Bay related, having garage space is a huge thing. We redesigned our buildings, as a matter of fact, and took a building out of our proposal, which will be coming back to you folks here shortly. You'll see us again to get final approval for that site. But we actually took a building out to be able to fit enough garage stalls on our site to be able to accommodate a one-stall garage for every single one-bedroom apartment and a two-stall garage for every two-bedroom apartment. This particular proposal, as I see it, has no garages outside of 60 outdoor parking spots. Is that correct? I mean, even Woodland Park, which is down the street on University Avenue, has underground parking. So that's a concern, particularly in this climate, when you have zero parking stalls, zero garage stalls for someone to park in. You might see that more in a downtown location, but certainly not as you get outside. I would dare you to find another apartment complex that doesn't have any garages attached to it.
Isn't there one right down the street?
Which one?
It's an affordable housing project.
That would be Woodland Park,
Oh, is that,
underground parking.
they have underground?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
I
they have
thought it was
surface
just-
lots, just like we do, but they also have underground parking.
Okay, I
for that
thought it just had
facility.
surface.
Yeah. The other thing would be green space. If you look at this particular plan, there is a significant lack of green space. There are going to be 11 three-bedroom units in this complex, which will bring families in, which is fine, but normally with families, you should have some place for kids to be able to play. I don't see that. As you'll see, again, we're painstakingly putting together right now a green space plan, which will be brought back before all of you again, probably within the next month or two. But we're spending a considerable amount of time and effort to make sure we've got all of our green spaces, we've got grass islands in our parking lots and so forth. This development's really tight. And the other thing I guess I would throw out was the trail connectivity. That's going to be another thing that you will see with our particular proposal. We were asked when we came forward to this group at the time to create some type of trail connectivity. We will have that. You will see that. It's going to take a little cooperation from the city in regards to Rothie Street. But again, we are spending a lot of time and we'll be spending a lot of money putting together a proposal that will allow us to get from the end of Rothie Street basically back to the lot line to get to the Beards Creek Parkway. So those are three main things from our perspective. Again, not opposed to the project, we actually welcome it. The more activity we can have out on that end of town, the better. It usually helps us. We don't shy away from competition. It drives traffic and we feel like we can kind of outsell anybody, so bring them on. But there are some circumstances, some situations that we would certainly like this group to take a look at as this thing moves forward. So Jim, you want to do?
I think you got the majority of it. I guess the only thing I'd kind of point at you, because I've been working on this site for many, many years, I think few of you know that, I was working with the previous developer also. And so when I started this project, one of the major goals wasn't just the diversity of housing, which I more than appreciate, I truly do, but diversity, right? I mean, commercial space or park space or connectivity at least to this fabulous green space. So maybe that's just gone, housing is the only thing we got, and housing's good. So I'm just, maybe it's a rhetorical question even, is what happened to the other diversity, if it's commercial space or whatever? This site, which is now Elevate, didn't lend itself well to it because there is no university frontage. But that was at least part of the discussion 5 years ago, so just throwing it out there.
Questions or comments?
The development you're working on, is that mixed use, market rate, or all, what? I
All
remember.
market rate.
All market rate.
All market rate, okay.
Yeah.
So, can't argue that we aren't direct competitors. I mean, that's actually not our issue at all.
Right. Well, I wasn't, that's not why I was asking, I was just trying to understand your development.
Right.
You know. Yeah.
And your project is directly across the street, isn't it?
No, up the hill, right behind.
Yeah.
Behind it, yeah, okay.
Yeah, where the old packing.
All right,
garage is.
yep, I remember that. I
Yeah,
remember
right, it's former Packer land.
that. Yep, got it.
Drive by, there's a little bit of dirt in there.
Looks like the surface of the moon, yeah.
That's why you got more to do, because you're up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yes, oh, yeah, that includes that includes what's going to be probably about a $750,000 pump station to get the water to the top of the hill.
Oh,
Yeah, slightly more expensive than we were anticipating.
I remember the discussion.
Yes, so do we, but we didn't really realize how much it was gonna be till we started to get our quotes back, but that's gonna be expensive water going to the top of the hill, so.
rain barrels.
Yeah. So, thank you, appreciate it.
Thank you. Excellent. I guess motion to go back to regular.
Well, just in case,
Anybody else?
any comments you'd care to?
Yeah.
Sure. So,
Yeah,
seems like we've been through this many times.
Because this will come up again.
Well, right, but, so.
Trying to.
Right. They're not direct competitors because we have a different income base that we're dealing with. And we're not market rates, so we're not competing with them at all.
Right.
What we have found is, in our management practices, is garages, although they are an amenity and a luxury to your residents, a lot of things happen in garages on the management side that are not ideal. I'm not gonna expound on that, you can, and so, I would say we wouldn't want garages here, that's what I would say, but, it's an extra expense, it would be an extra expense above what we have, targeted. Also, the green space, from what I understand, is Berry Creek?
Yeah.
Right, which is right through the cul-de-sac, hundreds of yards away, isn't it? If you go on Rothy Street, the other way. So that's kind of why we thought this was a better site than the other site we were on, because the other site we were on had no green space except when we went through a busy intersection here, you take your bike and you go right down the cul-de-sac on Rothy and you're at Berry Creek. So I think that was what people were comfortable with when they approved the site plan in the last common council. So that's all I'm saying.
So there's no need for like any kind of trail connectivity or anything, because the street doesn't.
Well, I think it is kind of connected through Rothy Street. I think Tunin had a great plan that they were going to do because they had a lot of units up there that was going through there that was, I think it was coming. I don't think it was existent yet. I don't know the facts on that, but everyone kind of thought that because of the fact that Rothy Street kind of dead ended into Berry Creek, is that was kind of the trail from our place that was not so busy as we were trying to get through, I think, Shawano Avenue, is that what it was before? To the park, so I thought that was a win-win.
We'd still want to make sure that there's adequate pedestrian
we have
facilities connecting into.
Sidewalks.
Absolutely, yeah.
We have sidewalks on our property going up.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Very good, thank you. Yes, please. Yeah, please. Go for it.
Yeah, I'm adjacent to the district of the property here, and, you know, I've learned a little bit about it, and it's kind of moved through very quickly, you know, and, you know, one of the things I've learned in the last week here is, you know, when you have a full parking lot, how are you gonna plow it? I mean, this would be fine for a summer retreat, you know? But, and then you got cleanup, so you have, and I know safety isn't a big thing, but how do you ever get that parking lot clean? And you know, that brings up the word about clutter and maintenance and safety. You know, I would disagree with the garage. I would think it'd be a little safer to enter your car. There's a lot more carjackings going on, so, and car break-ins around town, especially on the west side. I mean, I look at it, at that part. And it's been brought to my attention, the 2 college units that are on top of the hill too. You know, everybody's got a girlfriend or boyfriend or friend. So as much as I know they try to control their own, not that it's an inspection issue, but I know that's how it came up to me, as you have a lot of clutter. You have a lot of extra cars that aren't designed for those spaces. Them are like visitors, but they end up being clutter in your parking lot, and it just kind of makes it a little too busy. So them are my concerns about it too. I mean,
I'm sorry, could you
and I'm
introduce
sorry,
yourself?
I'm Alder Campbell
Okay.
from District 6. I apologize.
Good.
So that's my input on it, you know. And I think the design is good. I mean, it just needs a little tweaking possibly, you know. I do agree. Have a lot of concerned residents, very concerned that it really wasn't put out to the public out there. It's coming our way, and they're wondering why we didn't take the time to get their input on it. So, you know, this is needs to be slowed down a little bit here, and you need to look at a lot of the people in the area. Like I said, at council, you know, the development of it's been a long time since University Avenue has gained stores and a grocery store, and I mean, I feel sorry for the little red owl over there, but, you know, we went to 3 stores last night to get a keg of butter.
Wow.
They were out at Walmart, you know? We ended up downtown. They were out at there. So we had to go to the Red Owl on University, the little store, you know? Which is nice, because I know where it all is, but, you know, I'm watching this revolve of the 31 years that I've lived in the area, so, and my kids all went to school and such, so, you know, that's just the concern that I have being adjacent to that. And the Bear Creek Trail is beautiful. I'd like to see a little bit of that shared part go into this project too, at least a mention of it or a notion of it. So that's what I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman. Excellent comments. Any other questions for any of the developers or the Alderman? Spoke?
I believe there was a public meeting though, correct? We did have a public meeting for this project.
We had a neighborhood meeting with Alderman Stevens, and we had a full process where we sent notices out to everyone.
As part of the planning unit development, there were notices sent as well.
Okay. Very good.
But typically, there's always complaints that, you know, I didn't get a notice or whatever, and that happens. I don't know of a project that's happened, that hasn't happened, one way or another somehow, but.
There was a process.
Right.
Okay. Yes, please.
Just a clarification on that. So am I correct or not, it's 200 feet or 400 feet on the notice?
If under 3 acres, it's 200 feet. If over, it's 400.
I don't need a tape measure, but I don't think there's a resident within that, in that district. I just want to clarify that.
We had a list that was produced by the city that we sent out to every single person, and then we sent one to Tunin, actually, at their headquarters.
And it is the property, not the physical residence, it is the adjacent property, so. So be clear.
Any other questions or comments for developers or your Alderman? If not, a motion to back to regular order of business?
Motion to close the floor.
Debbie, go back to regular order of business. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, we're back to regular order of business. It sounds like you got some work to do, Neil.
Yep, just we request a motion to hold to the next RDA meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second to hold to the next meeting, and if necessary, we will have a special meeting in order to keep things going one way or another. All in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Thank you very much. Excellent comments. All right, informational. I didn't have any questions with the financial report or check register. I don't know if anybody else did. If not, director's report and
Like
project
here, Gary.
update. You got it. All right.
Down for you this time.
All right.
So I just pass one and pass one around, please. So there we go.
Can you email me too?
Absolutely, will be a PDF sent out as well.
Yeah,
thank you.
Yep, absolutely.
I know you're busy. I really appreciate doing that.
No problem, it helps, keeps us on track too, also. Just kind of want to go through a couple of highlights on here. You know, a lot of changing colors on this one, in terms of kind of coding some of the ones. Want to make a note, certainly with Ted here, 200 North Monroe, we're still working on closing financing and kind of keeping that one moving forward. But I'm sure he's making all possible efforts to get that moving and closed this year. So put him on the spot while we're
Yeah,
here.
we've got another financing plan to talk to you about.
Excellent. I want to hear,
That's
sir.
why I'm
Thank you.
sitting here.
You know, one probably, no one, both that, I want to, Impact 7, we've kind of reached a little bit of an impasse with them in terms of trying to negotiate financial assistance with them. So actually, we're looking to kind of reestablish some planning options probably with them and see if there's a different way forward. Mayor's actually reached out to them specifically to try to see if we can do that. But really, the numbers and the request of the level of assistance that they were requesting on the project was so substantial, at least in staff's opinion, that we felt like we were the developer, not the private company. So hopefully we're gonna get some new report back on that. We're hoping for some progress there. Merge, we are gonna be bringing back here, I would believe, hopefully if we do have a special meeting, Mr. Chairman, in a couple weeks with some updated dates. We're gonna do a couple of tweaks and again, kind of firm up some guarantees again in that particular agreement to make sure that they move forward. So that's an important one there. Let's see, again, just kind of note that currently the apartments behind the public market space kind of stalled right now for financing reasons.
Okay.
It's not completely off of the books, but certainly I think it's going to be probably not moving as quickly as they wanted until some of the financing moves forward. Same thing with 222 Cherry Street. We're waiting for some updated dates from the developer on that one. Waiting to kind of coordinate a meeting with that one. I said Tunin Properties was on schedule. Yes, earthwork. If you haven't had a chance to go out there and drive by that site, I do recommend you get out there if you ever get out by Festival Foods and things on that site. It is, the amount of earth they are moving is substantial, let's put it that way. It does, when I said it looked like the surface of the moon, I wasn't kidding. They are moving a lot of earthwork to make that project happen, so it's pretty impressive to watch them work through. To mention the there, so I don't think there's anything more significant major on these. There's significant changes. I think everything else, go ahead.
So, one asterisk is moving forward.
No, just with phase one, in terms of completing phase one of the development agreement. So that's the CSM, the easements, transfer of property is phase one. So phase one is we're wrapping phase one up. They probably, that building will probably just, that site will most likely just go up for sale.
That's what I thought.
The trust does not have any intentions of developing on their own.
I thought the property was going to go.
Yep, so.
There was also
That was
rezone that.
Yeah.
We did to make them more appropriate for development, so that actually, to help encourage that, and so that was kind of one, a checkbox that their attorney, the trust attorney had requested, so we took care of that about a month and a half, 2 months ago, I think now, so. So the easements have simply taken a little bit longer than we've kind of found some older ones that were recorded that we weren't sure what they were, and we had to send them back to Public Works to get them taken care of. We found one, it was actually where the two main water mains, like the 24-inch mains go underneath the river, go right through that site. So
I was just catching up with it.
wanted to make sure we had that, again, kind of, we've got that all fine and cleaned up at the end of the day.
Just go with the flow.
So, exactly.
One of them I noticed is the light park is still.
Yes. That was the overall master plan for that one. It's just really a matter, I think the master plan is completed, and I think they maybe even, I don't know, Mayor, did they actually get bids? They may have gotten some construction bids even preliminarily. But the problem is just figuring out what the financing strategy is going to be to pay for the improvements. There's, I think the city's kind of looking at it from more of a phased approach, and I think on Broadway would like to see it done all in one shot. But it is simply a matter of getting the dollars to line up and make sense financially at this point. So really kind of coordinating what we think the funding strategy for that development will be.
Wow, good update.
A lot of movement, but, and just, I guess just one last note, the developer we did meet with the other day, we're gonna go, since I don't think telling who they are, Mayor, I don't think there's any issues with that, or?
I don't know that we'd want to.
Well, at this point, we're a very impressive developer in the Milwaukee market, has done some very substantial projects down there, spent a good part of an entire day touring the mayor and staff on multiple parts of their projects. And they seem very, very interested here in Green Bay, so we're excited to hopefully be bringing something forward. They're kind of evaluating the market. That's it. Their rents they would probably be charging would probably be significant in the market range. So we're hoping to see, I think they're figuring out exactly what the market can accommodate at this point. So we're looking forward to hearing back from them hopefully soon.
A minor typo on the 200 North Monroe, which I was talking about earlier. The last statement, I think is probably, if you could scratch probably, it's probably because that's going to begin construction in 2022.
Yeah, that's true, yeah. Since we are past that one, absolutely, but
No
yeah.
big deal.
I'm trying to remember, does the color coding matter? Because there's like 4 different colors for pending.
Yeah, well, Joe, pending is really, it's just from Russia getting the report done.
Okay.
So it's just,
Supposed to be yellow.
If it's green or yellow, you're in good shape, so.
Oh.
Red is not, we don't like to see red.
What about black?
Black is okay.
Okay.
Great update. I know it takes lots of work, Neil, but we really appreciate
This-
it.
Yep.
That's exactly what we want.
Yep.
Excellent.
Thank you. Anything else on the agenda here? Other than our next meeting is June 13th, I got a feeling we might have a special meeting before then.
So special. Right? Motion to adjourn it.
Motion adjourned.
Second.
Motion and a second to adjourn. We are all in favor, saying aye?
Aye.
Aye. Excellent. We are adjourned. Thank you. Thanks, everybody.
This is fun. Let's do it again.
Now we can keep it.
Stop.
Sure.